This is the A to Z podcast. Expert insights on leadership, business, real estate, investing, and growth.
Welcome to the podcast, everyone. Today, I have a special guest. His name is Walter Bond. He is a former NBA player turned into Hall of Fame speaker and next level coach. Today, we're going to talk about some of his turning points and how he uses shark mindset to transform individuals, ordinary individuals, into high performing and great performers. Walter, I want to welcome you to the podcast. I know you're traveling, but you squeezed this session with me. And on behalf of our audience, I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to talking to you.
Absolutely, Ken. Let's go, AZ. Let's go.
I want to start first how we met. I was sitting down there. You were a keynote speaker. It was in Clearwater. I was sitting there, mesmerized by your stories. Most importantly, I felt like I was taking a master class in public speaking and storytelling. My question to you is, how did it all start? You were a high performer, a world-class athlete, but you turned yourself and you became a speaker and a coach. What prompted you to make that shift? And also, what happened that initial phase when you were transforming yourself from a world-class athlete into a speaker and coach?
Well, one, AZ, I learned, on my way to the NBA, for you to play at that level, it's a full-time commitment. Obviously it took years. When I really think about it, the first time I touched a basketball, I was about 8 or 9, probably. And 15 years later, I'm an NBA ball player. So 15 years of coaching, 15 years of commitment, 15 years of development really taught me how to become elite. And everything I learned in basketball applies to business. And so when basketball was over, I got a chance to play 8 years, played for the Dallas Mavericks, Utah Jazz, Detroit Pistons, played in Italy, Greece, and Germany, had a great experience traveling the world. And so when it was over, my college basketball coach, when I left the University of Minnesota, was like, you should be a motivational speaker. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like at the time, I didn't even know what he was talking about. So when my career ended, I was broadcasting for the Timberwolves. I didn't see broadcasting as a long-term career for me. And I remembered that my coach said I should be a motivational speaker. So long story short, my wife has an entrepreneurial background. She comes from an entrepreneurial family. And in 2001, in a spare bedroom, we launched right there in Minneapolis, St. Paul, which is a great business community. Everybody knew me as an athlete and people would listen. And as a business leader, it really taught me the power of personal brand, relationship building, people liking you. So I got a great opportunity in Minneapolis, and we really have turned that into a global training and development company. So honestly, it's my purpose. Basketball wasn't my purpose. It was a platform I think God allowed me to attain. So now I have credibility to go in front of any company, any business leader, any executive and say, dude, I made it to the highest level and I can help you achieve the highest level too. So it's not really about me anymore. My significance is helping our clients become peak performers.
That's a wonderful story. I want to give us this opportunity to our audience, if in case you want to give them some insights. Sometimes I meet people, they are technically world class, but they don't put a little bit effort on softer skills, leadership and entrepreneurship. And after a while, when their technical abilities don't give them any competitive edge, they are out of business, they are out of their career, and then they don't have the impact they should have. Like in your case, you played as a world-class athlete and you came back again in another industry, totally different, and you again shined here. Any advice, people who may be young right now, they may not be thinking about what kind of skill sets they should develop, what kind of relationships, what kind of things they should do while they are excelling at their technical skills and physical abilities?
Well, there's a whole process, and that's what we teach with our company. And I'll just share some of the insight. First, you have to have a vision. Without a vision, people perish. And so as a young kid, I had a vision of playing pro sports. My only challenge was which one. I was good in baseball, basketball, and football. I had the mindset, I had the skill set. And to this day, some people will say, man, you should have played baseball. Walter, my football coach, says you should have played football. So I had the skill set, I had the mindset, and I had the vision to become a pro. And so when my career ended, I applied everything I learned in sports, and I created a vision on becoming successful as a motivational speaker. In fact, I told my wife, I said, babe, we're going to make more money in business than we did in sports. And within 3 years, we doubled our MBA income. 10 years later, I was a Hall of Fame speaker. And it really starts with vision. You have to have a vision, but you also have to understand that there's a certain code. Like I just spoke this morning, and I taught what we call the peak performance code. Everything we do is based on the code. So you hear about the shark mindset. I have a shark mindset t-shirt on today. Everyone that's seen the video on YouTube, shark mindset, it's our number one keynote. But that's just a part of the code, having a winning mindset. And people don't even know the other the other 7 priorities of cracking the code. Just like a lock, in high school we had a locker. You had to crack the code. If you didn't put the right code in, you didn't open up the locker. Success is very similar. If you're not executing the code, you'll never become elite. And the people that we see in business and industry, music, sports, doesn't really matter. They crack the code. And mindset is a big part of the code. And it's really the beginning. So we help people with their mindset of how to become elite, but also developing the skill set. So leadership is a skill set. Teamwork is a skill set. Leadership, communication, it's all skill set, right? So what we've done for 25 years is help all of our clients become elite by teaching them the right mindset and then helping them develop the right skill set until you become elite. Let's be honest. You can't play an NBA if you don't have the right mindset and the right skill set, and if you struggle in either one, it's going to be tough, right? So to play in the NBA, you have to have an elite mindset and an elite skill set working together. In college, you can get there with an elite mindset sometimes. Sometimes you can get there as, with an elite skill set. But to play in NBA, you have to have both. And to be elite in business, you have to have both elite mindset and elite skill set. And we teach them through what we call the peak performance code.
What's powerful about what you teach is it's not just focusing on one thing. If I'm great in my mindset, if I don't have some skill sets, if I don't have some personality and how to build relationships, I cannot succeed. I want to dive a little bit deeper about one of your signature programs, which is about shark mindset. If you don't mind, can you give us the highlight of? Yes, I love that t-shirt. I should have got that t-shirt when I met you down there. Maybe I'll order. If it is online, I'll order. That's powerful.
We got a pair on the website, man, and it's
awesome.
It's flying off the shelves.
Awesome. My question is this. You said there is a code and you have to crack it. And having this shark mindset is not just important in NBA or any other physical competition, but it's everywhere in business, in politics, in community development, social welfare, everywhere. That shark mindset gonna be a difference maker. Would you give us the core of this shark mindset? What does it look like when somebody has shark mindset?
Well, first of all, the shark mindset is a movement. And we have sales forces that have invested in our shark mindset sales training. We've had companies like Jersey Mike Subs, Dave's Hot Chicken, McKesson, medical device companies that have come in and said, Walter, we want to bake the shark mindset into our culture. Here's the truth. Sharks are the apex predator in the ocean, in their ecosystem. And they've been in that position for 400 million years. And what we've done, we've humanized the behavior of a shark. And we teach it in all of our programs, and we call it the Sacred Six. And we adapt it, obviously. And it can fit school districts. It can fit high school football teams. We've been in front of the NFL. We've been in front of companies because mindset is the foundation of anyone's success. It's biblical. Even the Bible says, as a man thinks, so is he. take every thought captive and bring it into the obedience of Christ. If your mind is not right, I mean, we live in a world where everyone's talking about mental health. And I'm glad we're talking about mental health in a different context. You know, mental health used to be about being insane. This person is crazy. No, mental health has nothing to do with you being crazy, although that's an extreme form of mental health. But mental health can be negative mentality, be low self-esteem, lack of confidence, lack of hope. I mean, there's different degrees and levels of mental health, but if your mindset is not right, trust me, it's impossible to become elite. The beauty of a shark mindset, we base it on shark behavior. And here they are. I'm gonna break down the Sacred Six real quickly. And it's the foundation of everything that we teach with the shark mindset. First of all, sharks are relentless. They never stop moving forward. They are relentless, they're resilient, they always make progress. And that's something we all can do. You know, I tell business people, man, if you have a business idea, if you just go and buy a website, that's progress. I mean, literally. You know, if you just get on the website or the internet or AI and just study the industry, that's progress. If you just go to an association conference, that's progress. So in business, imagine if you have 52 weeks of progress. If you have 52 weeks of significant progress, I mean, you can launch a business in 12 months. Even if you take 52 weeks of baby steps, I mean, you can do some significant things with the business. So sharks never stop moving forward. Sharks never look down, they always look up, which means you got to be positive, you got to be optimistic, but you have to look for opportunities. One thing that we've done well with our company, we constantly look for opportunities, and we've taken simple opportunities and turned them into clients for 8 years, right, that have really invested in themselves, which means it's a win-win. You invest in yourself, which means we created incredible revenue, but we delivered incredible service. So sharks never look down, they always look up. And sharks are curious and always learning. They're the smartest fish in the ocean, which means in business we have to have wisdom. To mean a leader who's a great leader has wisdom. A sales rep who can close deals has wisdom. They understand it's not about transactions, it's about relationships, right? And so to me, that's just about being smart, which is wisdom. Sharks have wisdom. Sharks respect their environment, and they also recognize other sharks, which really speaks to your company should be in better shape the moment you show up. And also, you need to be very careful who you hang around. When I played in the NBA, AZ, I hung around NBA ball players. I had teammates like Karl Malone, John Stockton. That fellowship is important. So right now, I am very, very selective in my fellowship. I don't hang around knuckleheads. I don't hang around wrong type of men. I'm very, very selective in who I hang around. Why? Because I'm a shark, and I only hang around with other sharks. I don't hang out with guppies. I don't hang out with goldfish. Iron sharpens iron, so I hang around other sharks. And finally, sharks are made of cartilage. I mean, which means they're flexible. And we teach all of our clients, if something's not working, shift, pivot. Let's be committed to the result, but not committed to the strategy. And finally, sharks are great mentors and they're great teammates. So the Sacred Six is something that we use that's foundational, which really makes up the shark mindset. And once a person adopts the shark mindset and live by its principles, you're going to be relentless. You're going to be positive and looking for opportunities. You're going to get smarter. You're going to respect your environment and recognize other sharks. You're going to have good fellowship. You're going to make sure that you're flexible. If something's not working, let's pivot, let's shift, let's change. And finally, you're going to be giving out. You're going to be mentoring. You're going to be tutoring others, and you're going to be coachable at the same time. So the Sacred Six, honestly, AZ, is revolutionary. It's covert gospel. And this really positions all of our clients to become the best version of themselves, because why not be the apex predator? We all have the spirit of dominion. And if we operate with the Sacred Six, naturally you're going to make moves. Naturally you're going to become elite, because if a shark is elite because of their movement and they move different in the ocean, we humanized it. The shark mindset is all about how we move on this earth. And trust me, all of our clients get amazing results when they commit to the shark mindset.
This is really powerful. I wish we have time to dive deeper and talk more. But what I learned is that your framework, your model, is adapted to the nature of not just shark, but the nature of humanity. This is who we are. And I love what you're discussing here, which is don't stop, don't look back, don't look down, move forward, be flexible, and make sure that you get along with other people and also pay back, give to other people, mentor other people as much as you are mentored. I want to take a few minutes about one thing you mentioned because I struggled about it, and I believe some people struggle. At least I know people around me, one of the things they struggle about is choosing the right people around them. It's a struggle for many people, partly because of the subculture where they've been told always be with your family, be with your friends, don't go out, don't talk to strangers. This mentality where people always inbreed and always stay in the same group is killing a lot of visions, killing a lot of people. Some people think they're betraying others when they go to the next level. But if you ask me, if you stay and all of you are going down, or both of you are going down, nobody is staying, living to tell a story and come back and pick up the other person. You all go down. And therefore, I don't see it as a selfish move. Hey, if you don't have people who are encouraging you, stretching you, taking you to the next level, and supporting you, you all gonna go down. Why not you at least rescue yourself, go to the next level? Who knows? You can come back with some testimonials, some track records, even some support to pull back people where they should be. And I want you, if you struggled with this one, or if you have seen some people who are struggling with this, they need some kind of, let's say, confirmation or some kind of slap so that there's, oh my gosh, okay, now it's not selfish. I know now it's not about me. It's about the greater good. It's about our community. I have to find the right environment for me to flourish. Would you please address that one?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times people have been designed to be in our lives for a season, right? And really the only people that's going to be in your life from the beginning to the end, it's going to be mom and dad, maybe brother and sister, maybe an uncle or a cousin and best friends. But for the most part, I think we should live life in seasons. Let's be honest, AZ, some people you talk to every day. Some people you talk to once a month. Some people you talk to once a year. And some people you just see them when you see them. And honestly, we should have a vision that we're so committed to. There's nothing wrong with repositioning people. It's not a personal thing. It's about growth. So for example, my high school friends, I had some great high school friends. We don't hang out as much as we did back in high school because I got a chance to go to college and play college basketball. And I talk to them not every day. I talk to them maybe once a month, maybe once a year, maybe once a quarter, but they're so proud of me. They've seen my journey. They've seen what I've done. And so I've aspired them. Some of them have gone on to be successful in business. Some of them have gone on to be doctors themselves. One of my friends growing up, he became an NBA referee. I would like to believe somehow, some way, a little part of my journey inspired him to go forward because he saw me do it. Why not me? And so that's an example of my high school friends. Although we used to hang out every day, once I left high school, we didn't anymore, but we still had contact, and I was able to be an inspiration to them. And in many cases, they inspired me. Right? In fact, my high school buddies who introduced me to my wife. So my college friends are no different. A lot of my college friends, we were around each other every day. They were my college teammates, my college classmates. And once I made it to the NBA, just like in high school, I inspired them. I motivated them. And now some of them are pastors. Some of them are big-time financial advisors. Some of them are big-time lawyers. Many of them kind of saw my journey, what I went through. And although we used to hang around each other every day, we don't anymore, but man, we're still a part of each other's lives. And now maybe I see them once a year when I used to see them every day. Bottom line, I'm still connected to them, but because my path has really gone forward and my circles have changed, I still love them. They love me. We're still friends, but I just don't talk to you every day like I used to because I have some new fellowship. I live in a country club right now in Florida. I mean, we have 6 billionaires in this neighborhood. As I began to build strong relationships with billionaires, right? We're not talking about millionaires and multimillionaires. I can literally tell you, I have billionaire friends. And those relationships are incredibly rewarding to me. And obviously I add value to them, but they add tremendous value to me. And everyone in my world benefits. Everyone in my coaching programs benefit. All my friends benefit. All my colleagues, people who never even met the billionaires benefit when I come to a coaching program after I just spoke to a billionaire, right? So you should want to encourage your friends to grow, ascend to new levels, get new friendships, because when you get the fellowship with them and come back to these relationships, they add value, tremendous value. So you can't hold anybody hostage. We all are free. And again, AZ, some people you see every day, talk to every day. Some people are worth once a month. Some people are once a year, and some people you see them when you see them. And you really can't be afraid to reposition people, because if you are afraid to reposition people, you could be stunning their growth and development, and they could be stunning your growth and development. And I believe most people, other than mom, dad, brother and sister, aunt, uncle, are putting your wife and husband are putting in your life just for a season.
Thank you for explaining that. The context is very powerful, and we should have that compartmentalization with which kind of networks that we need to spend our time in, with whom we should also keep in touch and stay connected. But at the same time, we have to go out, find like-minded people where we are appreciated. There is a powerful saying: don't stay where you are tolerated, be where you are appreciated. And sometimes you are in a circle, but you're not appreciated. You are just tolerated. Maybe you have this big vision. Maybe you are too optimistic to the group, and therefore you're just being tolerated. You want to be where you are appreciated. Like you said, when you are around with people who have more resources, more opportunities, more knowledge, you are actually benefiting your group. Sometimes some of my Ethiopian colleagues, they tell me that you have to relocate, come Ethiopia and just be there. You'll be successful. You don't have a lot of competition. Here in the US, the competition is high. Why are you in the US? And I tell them that the moment I relocate, the moment I make my base in Ethiopia, actually, I'm denying my country, my community, the opportunity that I bring because I'm mingling with people outside of Ethiopia. The lesson that I learned, the experience I get, the connection I could create, investment from the United States to Ethiopia. And I agree with you. When you go out, you're not going out for yourself. You're going out for your family. You're going out for your community. You're going out the people who could benefit from you. One story, I don't want to miss the opportunity for you to share. I know you have wonderful turning points. I listened to your videos, interviews, and also I was there sitting, listening your amazing story, a story of transformation. One of the story that still stuck in my head, and one of the top stories of yours, was after breaking your leg, you came to your coach, and asked, how can I play in NBA? And I can imagine the shock in his face. But one thing I learned from that conversation was he believed in you. It was a surprise to him, but he believed in you because he gave you a list. The list was very long initially. What I love about this story is every time you come back to talk to him, the list was a little bit shorter, a little bit shorter. And finally, you made it to NBA. I'm sure some of the people who watch us live on 3 platforms and people who may watch the replay, they may have a very, very, very long list. They want to be somewhere. They have broken, quote unquote, their leg. They want to go somewhere, but they don't have that ability, connection, or there is something wrong right now. What would you advise them from your own story for them, even if the list of things they have to do to get there is long? What would you advise them to do from
Great
your
question.
story?
To me, it's simple. Being a former athlete, I've always had coaches, and coaches are one of the biggest secrets to why I was able to make it to the NBA, why I'm a Hall of Fame motivational speaker and best-selling author, because I'm not afraid to ask people to coach me. If you really think about it, leadership should be coaching. Let me give you some data. Companies with the coaching culture are 21% more productive. One of my biggest disappointments when I left sports, where I saw coaches as leaders, leaders as coaches, when I got into the business environment, I didn't see it. and I was very disappointed. I was shocked. I was a little confused, but now I began to realize why I saw that. And now it's my purpose, because I will teach any leader. That is your job, to have an open door policy. And you should encourage everyone that you lead to come and seek you out, to say, hey, man, you can always come ask me what you need to do. And that's the way I was raised. Like, this is your leader, they're your coach, go ask them. And this person is equipped, positioned, has the authority to teach you exactly what you need to do. Because if you can't teach me what I need to do, I question if you're really a leader. You might be in charge, but you're not a leader. My college basketball coach played in the NBA. My college basketball coach had produced other NBA players as a coach. So he was credible in producing NBA ball players. And I chose him as my college basketball coach because I believed he was the right guy to help me develop. So I went to him, and I was sincere. I had a dream. I had a vision. I was ambitious. And basically, I was like, Coach, tell me what I need to do. Teach me, coach me. I'll do it. And that's how our relationship began. It was a 4-year relationship. And every year he voted me most improved player. Every year I got exponentially better. And we did our job. He coached me and I complied. He coached me and I worked hard. He coached me and I was teachable. I learned, and eventually I developed and became. And so when I teach leadership training, I teach my bosses to become coaches. In fact, we have a whole curriculum turning bosses into coaches. And in many cases, some of the leaders, once we get done with them, they are so thankful because they never thought about being a coach. It never even appeared to be what they should be doing because they never had that experience themselves. And any leader, especially a young aspiring leader, should go and get effective leadership training. And leadership training is really about being a coach and serving the people that you lead. If you really think about it, if I add value to you, you're going to add value to me. So if you're a leader leading 10 people, if you add value to 10 people, you're going to get it back times 10. Why? Because you add value to them and then they add value to you. Most leaders have it backwards. They really believe my job is for the employee to add value to me. That's backwards. A great leader who thinks like a coach, I'm going to add value to you first. And as you improve, as you become more effective, as you grow and develop, then you're going to add value back to me. And if you don't approach it that way, you're going to be very disappointed as a leader. And so when we teach our leadership training to employees who are aspiring to be leaders, it's so eye-opening to them. It's so natural. It's so real that transformation happens instantly. And they really understand what true leadership is. And let me give you the greatest example. Jesus washed the disciples' feet. It freaked them out because they were like, what do you mean, wash my feet? Shouldn't I be washing your feet? And the reality was, Jesus was teaching them true leadership is service. They had never seen that before because every other leader on earth was begging and asking to be served. And if you didn't serve me, off with your head kind of thing. But Jesus turned the paradigm of what real leadership is. Your job is not to serve me. My job is to serve you. In fact, if you don't let me serve you, you have no place in my kingdom. And the people of that time had never seen that type of leadership. And as we move forward, this is not new leadership. This is old biblical leadership. When we teach our leaders to become coaches, we're really teaching them to become servants of the people that they lead. So check this out. Leaders, hear me clearly. Your job is to recruit. Your job is to develop. And if you recruit right, if you develop right, you will retain right. And here's why. If I believe I can reach my potential with you, I stay. If I don't believe I can reach my potential with you, I leave. So if you recruit right, if you develop, you're going to naturally retain. I played for my college basketball coach 4 years because he recruited me, and I believed he was a guy that could develop me. And in 4 years, I became an NBA ball player. So everything that I do, when I hire a speech coach, when I hire a business coach, when I hire anyone to coach and consult me, it's because I believe they're the right person that can help me get to my potential. And as we do our coaching programs for all of our coaching clients, that's our expectation. And if you get into any of our coaching programs, we have 10 of them, right? We have something called a Champions Builder, where we take companies of decent size and we take them from winning to be the champion in their industry. We have clients that go from 3 billion to 8 billion. I mean, we have clients that have gone from, $500,000 to 8 billion, right? And so that's our Champions Builder. We have another program where it's called Shark Mindset Selling. When we get our hands on the average sales reps, they'll be Diamonds Club, President's Club in 6 months, right? And so our whole program about peak performance is getting our hands on our clients in all of our programs, recruiting them, developing them, and they stay because they get results. And that's what a great leader does. They help people get results. And that's what leadership is all about, serving the people that you lead.
Thank you. Thank you for highlighting this. What you're saying is that if I have a long list, one of the things I could do, which makes a huge difference, is to have a coach. And what I like about what you said about coaching is we also have a program called Coaching for Leaders. And I coach individuals to speak well, to strategize, to scale their companies and so on. And one of the things that I learned is that the more you coach people, the more you become better, the more partnerships, alliances that you could be able to form. But I want to highlight one thing, and I want to ask you a question. When I look at some leaders, one of the challenges that they have is they can become just charismatic to be successful, especially at the level where you're talking about, which is $1 billion companies and scaling and so on. Your charisma doesn't take you anywhere. And as you said, especially in the 21st century, if you are a transformative leader, servant leader, that's where you could be able to grow and become better and serve better. The question is, for those leaders who think that is too much to coach the people under them, those who think that this is not business, or it doesn't give any business sense for me to spend time to develop people, I better just send them somewhere to take training, or maybe even hire a coach for them. For those leaders, maybe they're very busy, or maybe they don't understand the place of coaching. What do you advise them to take this seriously and develop the skill set to become great coaches?
Well, the truth is a lot of business people have different skill sets. And my advice is to any business leader that does not have the skill set to coach, to hire it done. I mean, a lot of our top clients, I've had one client, the CEO said, "Walter, I want you to be my voice." He says, "You know what? You say what I want to say so much better, and our people are receiving your message. So I want you to come be my voice." And the beauty of it, it freed him up to go do what he did well, which was lead the business. And he kind of gave me full reign to really impact his people. And there's a lot of different dynamics that go into building a strong culture. And so the first thing a leader must understand, what is my skill set? What do I do well? What I don't do well? And how can I complement and get people around me to complement me and don't compete with me? And so again, if a business leader is not a natural coach, that's fine, but you better make sure you have it on your team. It could be through HR. It could be outsourced. And we have tons of clients who don't have a big HR department, who don't have a big training department. And basically, we become that outsourced training and development arm. That's why we built Peak Performance Hub. That's our business. We become your outsourced training and development. Here's the truth. Everyone's in the people business. And I blow my clients away when I teach them this. You're not in insurance. You're not in franchising. You're not in the burger business. You're not in manufacturing. You're in the people business. Your clients are business. Your customers are business. Your employees are business. You got to win the people game. If you don't win the people game, I don't care how good your product is. I don't care how good your service is. You're going to always underperform if you don't win the people business. So I don't care, if you're not a great coach or a great people person, you better go and hire it done. I've had a lot of clients who are quiet, introverted, brilliant business people, but recognize, I don't really possess this people skill that Walter has and his company offers. So let me bring them in-house. Let them do our training and development. We've had clients that have booked me 50 times to do all kind of virtual events. Well, basically, I became a voice, built their culture, and I'm telling you, they loved it because it freed them up to do everything that they naturally do. I learned their core values. I learned the vision, I learned the strategy, and I just came in and I became a catalyst and a great teammate. And I'm telling you, that's smart business because you should always surround yourself with people who complete you. And that takes security, and if you're an insecure leader that you don't want anyone equal to you, or you don't want anyone, you're not my kind of guy anyway. I want someone who's confident in what they do, but understand their weaknesses and aren't afraid to have competent teammates. You think about basketball, you got to have some talent to win, right? You have to have some good ball players working together as a team to win a championship. Companies are no different. You need to have a bunch of talented people who are secure and respect each other's ability. And together we build incredible cohesion. We have a book called Cultivate, and we teach leaders how to build great teams. We have a formula for teamwork, and you have to learn how to cultivate the culture of an organization, because the root word of culture is cult. And that's why we wrote the book Cultivate. You have to create what we call a cult-like culture, which simply means we all believe the same thing. We all are buying in, and we all are pulling in the same direction. That takes a while to do, but if you're a leader, if you don't have a strong culture, you are fooling yourself to think you're going to build a great business.
There are a lot of takeaways. I want to emphasize what you said, which is you have to become a coach as a leader, or find a partner who can help you to coach, because somebody could be busy or they don't like it, but they have to have a partner. And also, I want to bring up what you said, which is make it a coaching culture. Because from my study, from my interaction with business leaders, what I learned is that whatsoever great people, technology, finance that you have, great products, services, if your culture is not robust, vibrant, if the culture, the environment is unproductive, forget about everything else. Even if it's not our topic, I want to use this opportunity to ask you, what are a couple of things that you advise leaders, small and big, in terms of transforming their culture?
AZ, that's a great question. It's a complex question. I'll touch on a few things, but cultures win. A smart leader is not afraid to empower people, because if you're going to build a strong organization, you need what I call weight-bearing employees. If you go into a house, some walls are weight-bearing and some walls aren't weight-bearing. And it's fascinating. You think about it, if you go into a home, some walls, you can knock the wall down and nothing happens. Other walls in that house, if you knock it down, the whole house will crumble because they're weight-bearing. I've seen too many insecure leaders who want to have all the power and are really unable to empower others, and then they get frustrated. The only way you can build a big house is to have a bunch of weight-bearing walls. The only way you're going to build a big company is to have a bunch of weight-bearing professionals. Your CFO should be weight-bearing, right? Your COO should be weight-bearing. Your sales leader should be weight-bearing. Your HR department should be weight-bearing. You should have people at every level weight-bearing. Your middle managers should be weight-bearing. What do I mean by that? They have real responsibility that has true impact on the bottom line, and you empower them and you teach them how important their role is, but you also have to give them some freedom to own it. And a micromanaging, control freak leader can't do it. But a smart leader who wants to build a strong organization that can live on through generations understand that I need to have a bunch of weight-bearing employees in every department, at every level, especially middle management. As we coach a lot of our clients that are significant in size, a lot of them falter because they've not built mental management. In fact, we had a client in Milwaukee. It was a manufacturing company, and they were trying to get to $1 billion business, and they had no middle management. And I went back to the leader, and I'm like, dude, you got to build middle managers. Everything can't report to you. Everything can't go through you. And you think you're going to build a $1 billion business? And he was like, wow, you're right. Wow, we don't have a middle management. And so what we did, I had him go and handpick a bunch of people who he thought had the potential to become middle managers. And for 6 months, we coached the heck out of them. And they naturally ascended to middle management. And we built middle management. It took about 6 months. And he was so thankful, so appreciative. And without our coaching, without our tutelage, he was trying to build a $1 billion business without middle management. I'm like, dude, that's insane. But he had no context. You know, I've been doing this 25 years. I've seen companies that have grown with healthy middle management, healthy executive teams, healthy boards, and I've seen dysfunctional organizations. So all of that intellect, after 2 decades and a half of being inside of successful companies, seeing companies fold, seeing companies go out of business, and really learning through all these decades of service, really empowered me and equipped me to be a resource for clients who are trying to grow. I am perfect, and our company's perfect for winners who are trying to become champions. If you're a winner who's trying to become a champion, I'm telling you, especially if you believe, and you like me preaching the gospel a little bit, if you got some faith and you're not intimidated by that, and I've learned how to do it in a secular way, right? But if you let me be all of me, I'm telling you, man, we can help you get there faster.
You brought a really powerful point about leadership. One is middle leadership, and I'm almost ready. I'm writing a book on this subject, middle leadership. And many organizations, what they don't understand is that if you have a weak front line or a weak top leadership, you may survive if you have a very strong middle leadership. But if you have a very weak middle leadership, is a weak link. And I'm glad that you emphasize that one important point. One thing I want to ask you and get a little bit feedback is when I work with startups or companies who are trying to sell their company or raise capital or merge or scale, one of the things I advise them is here are the lists of things that you should do to increase the valuation, the current market value of your company. And one of the things I tell them that is, if a buyer comes, if an investor comes, the first question they would ask is, do you have strong men or women? Do you have your second men or women? If you don't have that, forget about it. They don't take risk and invest on one founder. And I'm glad you emphasized that. Do you want to say a couple of things about that? Before I go there, I know you know Derek.
Yes, I remember Derek, absolutely.
Yeah, you met him, so he really appreciates you, and he was there watching your keynote. I don't know whether he has a question here.
Well, he can put a question in the chat, but let me respond. And I've seen this where a charismatic leader kind of built an organization and it's built on his personality, her personality. He or she controls everything. I've seen a lot of those companies go out of business. I've seen a lot of those companies struggle. That person might get sick. That person's removed and the whole organization falls apart. I don't want to buy charisma. I don't want to buy a personality. If you take a human body as the example, a bodybuilder wins because they develop all the muscles, right? If you really look at Mr. Olympia, Lou Ferrigno, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, the bodybuilder develops every muscle in the body. And to me, that's a strong company. If you really think about it, if we go to the doctor, most things that kill us happen at the core. And the way a bodybuilder wins the competition is through the abs. They show off the stomach muscles. And a strong organization, watch this, has a strong core. So the analogy is, if you want to show me a strong organization, don't brag about it, CEO. Don't brag it about the board. I want to get to know your middle managers. Your middle managers to me are your abs. That's your middle section. And you cannot have a strong organization without a strong core because they become your better leaders. They become your next generation of leaders. And the company's not really successful until you can pass this leadership to one generation at least. If you can pass down leadership to one generation and you keep the core, you keep the core values, you keep the integrity, and you have a whole new group of people that still are leading this organization strong, that's when you have a strong organization. So think about it. Colon cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer, most things that happen at the doctor that can kill you happen at the core, from the neck to the groin. That can kill you, but that's the core. Very few people die from a headache. Very few people die from a sprained ankle. I've never heard anyone die from ankle cancer. You can die from heart attack. You can die from something that happens in the core. And that's the analogy I want companies to understand, especially leaders who are trying to grow a company. You have to grow your organization through your people and by creating strong leaders. And your strong leaders become weight bearing, and that's how you become a great organization. If everything has to rise and fall through the CEO, owner, founder, and you don't empower anybody, that's a very weak organization that's sick, and we just don't know it yet.
Thank you. Thank you for that. The question Derek has is, what difference has your faith played in your overall success in business and life? This is a question of what's the place of faith in your life and your spirituality, and how that contributed for your success in life and in business.
Derek, thank you for the question. You just threw me a softball. In basketball, we call it the alley-oop. You know what? I'm not ashamed of the gospel, right? And so everything I believe on is biblical. I think the Bible is basically the life manual of life. Everything's in the Bible. If you really crack on the Bible, there's business lessons, there's relationship lessons. If you go to the Song of Songs, there's romantic lessons in the Bible. Everything we lead is in the Bible. The problem is very few people actually have taken the time to read the whole Bible. And if you don't read the whole Bible, you rely on some person to teach you what they want you to learn about their interpretation of their custom-made Bible. The truth is, you need to become a studier and understanding the Word of God. And if you understand the Old Testament, the New Testament, and how it all works together, it's incredible. And so for us, everything we do, everything we believe in is biblical. We've been able to really take the Word of God and water it down in a way that is truth, but people can digest it. And everything that we need out of life is located in the Bible. So basically, stop being lazy, pick up the Bible and read it until you understand it. And I'm telling you, once a person is capable of reading that Bible for themselves and understanding the lessons and the application to life, my God, you realize how powerful God is. And you really understand that God wants us to prosper. But most people are lazy. Most people are very dependent on their pastor teaching them or some Sunday school teacher teaching them. You can read, pick up the Bible yourself and read it, and God can begin to show you directly all of the lessons of the Bible and how it applies to you. But it's the manual for life, and everything we need can be found in the Bible.
Thank you. In the 21st, especially in this century where the pressure is high, leaders who don't have a spiritual strength and the ability to tap into something bigger than themselves, they're going to struggle. And I'm glad that you highlighted that. The theme of our conversation is no one can stop you but you. Personally, I love this theme because I learned that if I conquer what's in me, the little voice, my own doubts, uncertainties, it's easier to go out to the world and conquer whatever industry you are in. But if you fail inside, you fail outside. And there is an American saying, we found the enemy and it is us. And there is an old African proverb which says that if there is no enemy within, no outside enemy can do us harm. Nothing could be able to harm us unless there is an enemy within. I want to hear from you why this is important. Why people, because in the world, people have I had so many excuses. There are a lot of challenges out there. But in the middle of that, why is that important to believe that No one can stop you but you.
AZ is biblical. The Bible says, as a man thinks, so is he. The Bible says we all will reap what we sow. I just spoke at a drug rehab, Christian-based rehab Friday, and I taught from the book of Numbers about strange fire. The book of Numbers talks about Aaron and Moses, and Aaron had 4 sons, and they were called by God to be Levites, which are priests and pastors, which means they had to execute the word. And instantly, Aaron had 2 sons that just died before the Lord because they offered up a strange fire. And when I read that, I was like, man, this is deep, a strange fire. Now, we live in a time where you can go and easily light a fire. I mean, you can go and buy some wood. You can go and buy a lighter. You can go and buy some lighter fluid. Because of technology, making a fire in our time is easy. But I read it in the context of the Old Testament. I mean, this is 2,000 years ago. So if you're going to start a fire, that was a lot of effort. You had to go and chop down some wood. You had to go and scrape some wood and get some kindling. You had to go and figure out how to start a fire like a Boy Scout. So to launch a strange fire took a lot of effort, right? You just can't, even now today, you still got to go buy some wood. You got to go and get a fire pit. So to start a fire takes some effort. And these 2 sons of Aaron said they offered up a strange fire to God. I just found that fascinating. A lot of times we're not getting blessed. Our lives are being derailed because we're offering up strange fire. And God is not going to bless a strange fire, and unfortunately, a lot of times we're dealing with consequences. This could be consequences of our behavior. And sometimes, if you really understand that Bible, there's generational consequences. Some of the consequences we're dealing with could be something our great-grandfather did. Our grandfather might have done it. There's some lineage. There's some generational curses that people don't think about, that people don't know, people don't acknowledge. I do a lot of work in prisons and halfway homes and drug rehabs. Some of those men and women have a generational curse that was established before they were born through some poor behavior or strange fires that their grandfather or great-grandfather might have set. If you really read the Bible, sometimes a curse can be 4 generations. And if you don't know that, it might sound like nonsense to you. But if you read the Bible and understand generational curses, men and women must understand how important it is for them to be righteous, because I can connect and cover my kids. I can cover my grandkids. So instead of my great-great-grandkids being cursed, my great-great-grandkids can be blessed, all because I made a decision not to offer up strange fire, but to offer up a fire that's pleasing to the Lord. And I just got a chance to preach that last week. I'm going to keep developing that message because I'm telling you, AZ, a lot of Christian men and women are frustrated. They're disappointed and they're losing faith in God. I'm like, dude, that's a strange fire you're offering up. God can't bless that. That's a strange fire. Whether it's pornography, any kind of sin, arrogance, pride, like, dude, the Bible is clear. Those who exalt themselves will be humble. I have learned myself. I used to be braggadocious. I used to be narcissistic. I used to be all about me, and my life went haywire. When I began to read the Bible, it says those who exalt themselves will be humbled. I'm like, God, I don't want to be humbled by you. So let me go and humble myself. The moment I began to understand God and his kingdom and understand I'm a king, but I'm a little king. I'm a Lord, but I'm a little Lord. And as long as I'm a good kid, compliant to the Holy One of Israel, oh my God, I can be that good kid who gets blessed on Christmas, right? And so, there's a lot of ways to really understand the Bible. And I'm just thankful that God has given me revelation knowledge. When I read that Bible last week and I read Strange Fire, I'm like, I got to go and teach people who are in the body of Christ, who believe in God for all these blessings, to beware of strange fire. If you offer up a strange fire to the Lord, knowingly or unknowingly, he can't bless it, right? And so I love to teach people biblically how to be a peak performer. I love to teach secular people biblical principles of how to be a peak performer. Bottom line, AZ, my purpose on this earth is to help develop those to become peak performers.
One thing I want to highlight is that you really put it in a very beautiful way how we should be able to address what's happening in us. Actually, you took it at a deeper level, not just at your level. You have to go a little bit deeper, your ancestral, your bloodline. And if you think about scientifically, there is a new science called epigenetic, which means not only we are inheriting our facial appearances, our height, color, and so on from our ancestors, we are also adopting their fears, their doubts, and all of the behaviors that you mentioned, which means before I was even born, I was pre wired with some of these ancestral epigenetics, which means they're not physical, these are non physical attributes that I am wired with, partly to help me because it helped me to survive if I have some inheritance when I come to the world, but also partly very limiting. And a lot of people, I didn't know that before. I was just focusing on myself without knowing that there are generational issues that might come in the way. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Maybe we can come back again to talk more on that. Before we finish, I know we have like 4 minutes. And one thing I want to cover is, which is also related with what we covered, is leading yourself first before leading others.
AZ,
The,
I call that self-government.
yep.
That's basically self-government. A lot of people are angry and frustrated with whoever's president. Donald Trump has enemies. Biden had enemies. Barack Obama has enemies. I don't care who goes to the White House. They're going to have people who love the president. They're going to have people who hate the president because they don't trust the government. Well, let's talk about self-government. Before we get too carried away with our politicians, mayor, governor, senators, how about your self-government? How good is your self-government? Because ultimately, we're all going to have our judgment day where we're going to have to answer to our self-government. And success is really about self-government. So really, sometimes we make excuses. Sometimes we can say, I was born on the wrong side of the tracks. My dad wasn't around. That happens. That's a reality. But you know what? You can get your family back on the tracks with God by really having the right self-government. Because the truth is, in life, we're always learning. You're either learning what to do or what not to do, but you got to always learn. And even if dad was around, even if mom was around, I'm sure mom and dad weren't perfect, right? So our job as the children is to honor our mother and father, learn from our mother and father, and become better than mother and father, and become a better generation, right? So whether it's academics, whether it's intelligence, whether it's wisdom, whether it's health, whether it's money, whatever it is, and sometimes families have special calls on the family. You got to answer the bell. I've met families, everybody can sing. I've met families where everyone is smart. We just talked about Aaron and Moses. That family was called to be the priest. And I'm telling you, it was up to that family to develop priests. So your family, in many cases, has a call on it. Everyone in my family were great athletes. My uncle played Major League Baseball. My sister played ball. I had aunts who were great basketball players. My uncle played Major League Baseball. I just happened to come from a family with great athletes. And for whatever reason, we're blessed. I have my nephew who's playing college ball at Idaho State. I have another cousin, Jada, who's playing college basketball at Alcorn State. My family has produced 3 pros athletes and about 8 Division I athletes. One family, right? And so some families all can sing, all can cook. Some families are just builders. The Ford family built cars, right? So you really have to think about your family and be good stewards of your family's gift, because sometimes these blessings run in the family. Beyonce's family were music people. It didn't start with Beyonce. Prince, the famous Prince, his father was a musician. If you really study families, it's incredible that sometimes a specific gift falls on a family, and it's up to that family to kind of carry the mantle of what God has called his family to do. But it all boils down to self-government, because you can't make your brother do anything. You can't make anybody do anything, but you can make yourself do something. And that's what self-government is all about.
Awesome. We have to finish by the hour, and we have 1 minute. Do you have any last minute advice, or how can people find you? Are there any resources or any initiatives that you have you
Absolutely.
want people to check out?
Absolutely. My website is walterbond.com. That's where people go to book me for keynotes. I'm a Hall of Fame motivational speaker, walterbond.com. We have a whole shark mindset movement. We are helping people launch a business in the shark mindset. We just signed up a guy from Australia. We just signed up 2 people today. Go to sharkmindset.com. That's sharkmindset.com. We'd love to add you to our guru platform where we empower you with the shark mindset, and you can go out and build a business. If you want coaching and training for your company, go to peakperformershuddle.com. peakperformershuddle.com. I don't know if we can add those 3 websites in the chat, but walterbond.com is how you book me as a speaker. Sharkmindset.com is how you get access to be a guru or get Shark Mindset coaching and training. And Peak Performance Huddle is perfect for any business leader who really wants to get their whole company inundated in our coaching and training platform. We coach companies of all sizes. I mean, from 8 billion, 30 billion on down to 100,000. We love to work with leaders, entrepreneurs, executives to help grow their company from where they are as winners and help them develop into champions.
Thank you very much, Walter. I know you're traveling. I wish you safe travel. Hopefully, I could bring you back again. There have been really great insights that you shared. I want to dive deeper to talk to you another time. But for now, I want to thank you and I appreciate you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Until I see you with another interview, I encourage you to go to Walter's website, his company, sign up, and also buy his books, and go to also YouTube. He has a lot of great keynote speeches and interviews, and I want you to benefit from that. Until I see you another time, enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much.